guaranteed to be accepted, and you can arrange everything in a matter of minutes. There are no medicals or blood tests. Prices start from just £4.52 a month for £1,000 of cover.
That's less than I thought. That money could help cover my funeral costs or be a gift for my grandson. I'll do it.
As the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance, we're proud to protect thousands of families across the UK. We're rated excellent by Trustpilot and also rated platinum by FIFO.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free life insurance quote today, call our UK team on 0800 977 6391 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
I've been thinking, I want to plan my funeral so it feels more like a celebration. My parents always said I was born dancing. I just love it. Bhangra, disco, even line dancing. So when my time comes, I want to have music, dancing, the lot.
With over 150 years experience, you can count on Co-op Funeral Care to help you pre-plan the funeral you want. To find out more, visit Co-op Funeral Care or give us a call.
OK, we know this isn't your granddaughter. If this were your granddaughter, she'd want you to know that she's upset because you didn't hear her joke. It wasn't a particularly good joke, but still. Now you owe her an ice cream and a hearing test. Book a free test today at bootshearingcare.com. And now you can hear her jokes again. She's over the moon.
If you won't do it for you, do it for them. You could have better hearing in just a week. Boots, with you for life.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Thanks for staying with NDTV. You're watching the Friday edition of the World Report with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. President Donald Trump has said his administration would start sending letters to countries probably on Friday to identify the tariff rates they would face on imports to the United States. In fact, Trump says 10 to 12 countries will get letters by Friday and will range in value from 60 to 70% and 10 to 20%. Meanwhile, countries will start paying tariffs from the 1st of August. Listen in.
We have a couple of other deals, but my inclination is to send a letter out and saying what tariff they're going to be paying. It's just much easier. We have, far more than 170 countries. And how many deals can you make? And you can make good deals, but they're very much more complicated. I'd rather, and I've been like this from the beginning, I'd rather send out a letter saying this is what you're going to pay to do business in the United States.
Staying with the U.S., where the House of Representatives passed Republicans' sweeping tax and spending legislation, sending the so-called Big Beautiful Bill to President Donald Trump's desk. Now, the measure's passage following an all-night legislative session during which Republicans, in fact, quashed internal opposition, comes just before Trump's deadline of July 4 and also reflects his sustained sway, in fact, over the party. Here's Trump for you.
We're sort of celebrating like the biggest bill of its kind ever signed, and it's going to make this country into a rocket ship. It's going to be really great.
Mr. President, he met with a lot of House Republicans yesterday. What confidence he got?
I think when you go over the bill, it was very easy to get him to a yes. We went over that bill, and point after point, biggest tax cut in history, great for security, great on the southern border. Immigration is covered. We covered just about everything. Again, it's the biggest bill ever signed of its kind.
Trade talks between India and the United States are heating up in Washington, with both sides, in fact, pushing towards a potential interim agreement likely to be unveiled in a day or two. Now, this agreement follows months of negotiations catalyzed by U.S. President Donald Trump's historic tariff announcement on the 2nd of April. Now, since then, both sides have reached the necessary compromises. My colleague Natasha gets you this report.
Well, there was so much attention, as you covered earlier in the program, on the big, beautiful bill in US Congress, and that's going to be signed July 4th. I'm not sure that'll be accompanied by the Indo-US trade deal as well. But yes, there's a good chance that this bill, the deal will be ironed out before that July 9th deadline. So somewhere between July 4th and July 9th is my guess. But there is increasingly a lot of positive noises that we're hearing from both the American side and the Indian side, but with necessary compromises, as you mentioned earlier. While India is seeking greater market access to its labor-intensive goods, the US wants more duty concessions on its agricultural products and its dairy products. And time again, we hear that's where the challenges have stayed, because India is very wary about allowing these big American farming companies to come in to compete with farmers in India who traditionally have small holdings and a lesser number of cattle. They won't be able to compete, and the Indian government is trying to protect them. In fact, historically, dairy and agriculture is kept out of trade deals even with other countries like Australia and the UK. So that's been the sticking point, but apparently there have been some progress on that front, and there's a chance that India might allow apples and nuts in, but still draw those red lines on products like wheat.
The PM addressed the Indian community in Port of Spain, where he in fact spoke about their ancestral links to India, praised their cultural contributions, and also said it was an honor in fact to bring with him a replica of the Ram Mandir and holy water from the river Sarayu in Ayodhya. He recalled the community's earlier gesture of sending shilas and sacred water for the temple's construction. Listen into what PM Modi says, followed by a very special report by my colleague Urvashi.
They left their soil, but not their soul. They were not just migrants. They were messengers of a timeless civilization. Their contributions have benefited this country culturally, economically, and spiritually.
Well, Namaste, New Delhi TV. I'm Urvashi Tiwari Rupnarayan, and I'm coming to you from the National Cycling Center in Cuba, Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, your Prime Minister Narendra Modi would have left Ghana on an official visit. He came to Trinidad and Tobago also on an official visit, and when he departs here, he'll be heading to Buenos Aires. Now, his visit here is very significant. You may ask yourselves why. Well, Trinidad and Tobago has the highest population of members of the Indian diaspora in the Caribbean and also South America. We're averaging at just over 500,000, which is half of our population are members of the Indian diaspora. Now, of course, that is significant because we have those members in various fields. They are in education, they are in the legal fraternity, they are esteemed doctors, they are lawyers, and of course our Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, is the first female Prime Minister of our country, but she's also the first female Prime Minister of Indian origin.
Russian President Vladimir Putin told US President Donald Trump on Thursday that he won't back down from his goals in Ukraine. Now, this comes a day after Washington said it would, in fact, halt some weapon shipments to Kiev. The leader's hour-long call, in fact, comes as Moscow intensifies its attacks on Ukraine, pounding cities with drones and missile strikes. Meanwhile, we get to what Donald Trump had to say on this.
We had a call. It was a pretty long call. We talked about a lot of things, including Iran. And we also talked about, as you know, the war with Ukraine. And I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy about that.
Progress with him on a deal with Ukraine? Do you feel like you made any progress?
No, I didn't make any progress with him today at all.
Shifting focus to West Asia, where White House Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is in fact planning to meet Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Oslo next week to restart nuclear talks. Now, this is according to Western media report. Now, why is this significant? It's significant because a final date has not been set and neither country has publicly confirmed the meeting. However, if it happens, it would mark the first direct talks since President Trump ordered an unprecedented military strike on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities only last month. Over in Washington, the United States has imposed sanctions against a business network that smuggles Iranian oil disguised as Iraqi oil, as well as sanctions targeting a Hezbollah-controlled financial institution. Now, the State Treasury Department has, in fact, made this announcement. The network of companies run by Iraqi businessman Salim Ahmed Said has been buying and shipping billions of dollars worth of Iranian oil disguised or blended with, in this case, as Iraqi oil since at least 2020, the statement read. We got breaking news coming in. A statement from the army on Operation Sindoor, in fact, where it has said there was a China-Pak nexus during Operation Sindoor, and China, in fact, provided all possible support to Pakistan. It's a big statement coming in, but that's not only what it says. It further says, and I'm quoting here, Pakistan's like a live laboratory for China. That's correct. The statement says that Beijing has, in fact, been using Islamabad as a live laboratory. In fact, it goes on to further say that 81% of the military hardware that Pakistan is using is Chinese. We, of course, saw that from the failed air defense systems that were targeted by India. And, you know, the jets also, we saw fragments of unburst missiles fallen on this side of the territory. That's a big breaking news and a big statement, in fact, coming in from India. Moving on. Foreign Affairs Advisor to Bangladesh's interim government, Mohammad Tawheed Hussain, on Thursday indicated that the country's interim government is actively pursuing the extradition of former PM Sheikh Hasina from India, a year after her ousting from the country. Now, as this happens, meanwhile, Bangladesh parties are discussing a caretaker election government. My colleague Saurabh gets you the insider details on this.
Bangladesh is discussing major reforms and constitutional reforms as it prepares for elections, and currently there's an interim government in place. But during elections, Bangladesh has always had the practice of having a caretaker government, something that was abolished a few years ago, and that verdict was, of course, upheld by several court orders, but that has also been challenged. Now, what's the difference between this interim government and a caretaker government? Well, for starters, this caretaker government is usually installed only for elections, and whether the interim government under Muhammad Yunus will continue for these elections or whether there will be a caretaker government led by a non-partisan chief advisor is something that is still up for discussion. As of now, it seems Muhammad Yunus will see Bangladesh through these elections, and then, of course, major reforms, etc., can all take place simultaneously. But there is discussion, especially on the National Consensus Commission, about whether the caretaker government practice should be brought back and whether a non-partisan caretaker government should be installed that is acceptable to all parties. There were provisions for that. Should they go back to these old provisions? This is something that's being discussed, and that's why there is a certain element of doubt of whether the elections will be held under Muhammad Yunus's interim government or whether there will be a caretaker government. That was usually the practice before it was abolished in Bangladesh.
An Indian origin man has been arrested for allegedly attacking his co-passenger during a flight from Philadelphia to Miami. Now, a video that has gone viral, which is also on your screens right now, in fact shows Ishan Sharma, a 21-year-old resident of Newark, and Keanu Evans involved in a fight on a Frontier Airlines flight on the 30th of June. Now, New Jersey resident Ishan Sharma received a black eye and a court date after he got involved in an unprovoked mid-flight attack on a fellow passenger, but it ending up backfiring. Now, the clip shows Sharma and Evans, as you see right there, trying to grab each other's necks, with fellow passengers asking them to stop. Indian software engineer Soham Parekh has been accused of moonlighting at multiple startups simultaneously. Now, allegedly also deceiving employers and gaming the startup hiring ecosystem. Many experts are suggesting that it is one of the most audacious employment scams in recent history. In fact, the software engineer has now broken his silence and defended his stance, saying he is not proud of what he's done, and also emphasized that financial stress, in fact, forced him to take these measures. He also added that no one really likes to work 140 hours a week. Staying with the U.S., where a wildfire in wilderness area of central California exploded in size as dry, hot weather Thursday, in fact, raised the fire risk for large portions of the state ahead of the July 4th holiday. The Madre Fire, as it's being called, has become California's largest blaze so far this year, ripping through grasslands after breaking out Wednesday in southeastern San Luis Obispo County. It also swiftly grew to more than 55 square miles or 142 square kilometers. There was just 5% containment. Wildfires have also spread across Spain, Greece and Turkey as heatwave pushed summer temperatures past records. Now, amid a deadly heat wave across the entire Europe, in fact, wildfires are burning in countries including Spain, Greece and Turkey. As we just pointed out, hundreds of firefighters in Greece, meanwhile, have been dispatched to battle a massive blaze, which has also been exacerbated by high temperatures and gale force winds. Shifting focus eastwards, where Russia has accepted credentials of the new Afghan ambassador to Moscow on Thursday. Now, this marks it as the first country, in fact, to extend diplomatic recognition to the Taliban since the Islamist movement retook power in the South Asian country in 2021. Back to Washington, where national defense areas will soon cover nearly one-third of U.S. border with Mexico, empowering soldiers to arrest people who crossed the border illegally. President Donald Trump's declaration of a national emergency at the border has in fact allowed the American army to sidestep a law prohibiting the military from civilian law enforcement. Now, it has gotten a mixed reception from hunters, hikers and humanitarian groups who fear being locked out of public lands across a cherished landscape. Meanwhile, listen into the U.S. Border Patrol and what it has to say.
I want to make it extremely clear. Anyone who enters the United States illegally will be removed. Not necessarily just back to Juarez or to Chihuahua or right across the border, but also into southern Mexico. Individuals will face criminal prosecution under the United States immigration law.
And scientists from the University of Miami, the Florida Aquarium and Tela coral in Honduras are in fact transplanting crossbred coral fragments onto a reef just off Miami's coast. Now, the reef was devastated by coral bleaching 2 years ago. The team is introducing corals from the Honduras, where warmer waters have in fact helped them to thrive, to increase the reef's resilience to rising ocean temperatures. Only on Tuesday, in fact, divers planted Eckelhorn coral fragments. It's a species critical for protecting shoreline. Here's more.
It's an exciting day. It's the end of a very long process. Beginning about 3 or 4 years ago, we had this idea that we really needed to try to help Florida's coral reef by introducing more diversity from around the Caribbean, recognizing that some of the biggest threats to corals, like climate change, are really global phenomena. And if you try to have Florida's reefs save themselves on their own, we could give them some outside help.
And with that, it's time we step into a short break. Much more on the other side.
We should have left centuries ago.
It's okay. I'm with the AA.
Because the AA has more expert patrols in more places than anyone else, you'll be back on the road in no time. That's why millions of drivers choose the AA. Join today.
How long's it been then? We met about 8 years back. What? Yeah, serious relationship.
He has this way of looking into my eyes.
Knows how to treat me. Gentle, considerate.
Did I tell you he owns his own business?
I think he's going to pop the question.
Better or worse?
Better.
Our opticians and audiologists own their stores, so your care is their business, which can make them rather popular.
Apparently, he's seeing half the town.
Book an appointment today.
Dealing with my lot means making smart choices. And with our family growing, I want to protect the life we've built. That's why I'm calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
OK, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000, depending on your age.
Brilliant.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought, and could help my husband pay off the mortgage.
With our Smart Family Guarantee, you'll have peace of mind.
I'll go ahead.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free life insurance quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 5753 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
أنا ما بردر أجاكر كل أرايا نوني أجابا نام يكاديcha.
Ayer no tenía comida y la niña estaba mal. Lloró. Estábamos tristes.
All over the world, millions of children like Fatun, Leolida and Monica are going hungry because of conflict, displacement and extreme weather. We urgently need your help to fight acute hunger and malnutrition. Please search Save the Children or visit savethechildren.org.uk to give £5 a month. You can help give hungry families life-saving food and provide malnourished children the treatment they need to recover. Please, donate today.
It's great to be helping out before my first grandchild arrives. And after having a few repairs myself, I need to make sure they'll all be protected. Which reminds me.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK. UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
Wow, that money could help with funeral costs or as a gift for my grandkid. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
He's going to be named after his granddad.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free life insurance quote today, call our UK team on 0800 470 4444 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
Welcome back. You're watching The World Report on NDTV, and now shifting focus to the world of business, where NVIDIA hit a market value of almost $3.92 trillion on Thursday, briefly putting it on track to become, in fact, the most valuable company in history as Wall Street doubled down on optimism about AI. Now, demand for AI chips drives NVIDIA's market value surge. The value has, in fact, exceeded the total of Canadian and Mexican stock markets combined. News from the land down under, where Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has said that Australia will likely still be subject to the 10% tariff rate on all exports to Washington, but the government will continue to try and negotiate for an exemption from Trump. A 90-day pause in the US reciprocal tariffs are set to expire early next week, with President Donald Trump threatening to send letters this time to countries laying out the tariff rates they will face on US imports. Next news from the sports buzz, where India's Gukesh Dommaraju has beat Magnus Carlsen once again for the second time. Gukesh has stunned Carlson in rapid round 6 Indian Championship. He's taken the sole lead in the Zagreb Championship. Now this makes it 5 straight wins for the Indian team Grandmaster. And you know, we all remember that how Carlson in fact had called him weaker just before the match, and how Gukesh has dominated with the nature of his strategic play. Now the next round to feature blitz format will prove Gukesh, in fact, he is and will maintain the world #1 status. Shifting focus to the UK, where India are in firm control of the Edgbaston Test, leading England by a whopping 510 runs. The host, meanwhile, was 77 for 3 at the end of the second day. Earlier, captain Shubman Gill scored a stunning double hundred, becoming the only Asian skipper to do so in England. Now, this effort helped India reach 587 in the first innings. Have a look.
Jasprit Bumrah sat out of the Edgbaston Test on the expected lines, but that did not go down well with the experts. Ravi Shastri telling the broadcaster, "This is a very important match. They have had a week off. I'm a little surprised Jasprit Bumrah is not playing this game. It should be taken out of the player's hand. It should be the captain and the coaching staff that should decide who should be in the playing 11. This is an important game in the context of the series. He should be playing this game more than anything else. Lords can come later. This is the important game where you go to counter-punch almost straight away." England won the toss and Yashasvi Jaiswal picked up from where he had left off. In the 9th over of the morning, a good length ball nipped back in and took out KL Rahul. India 15 for 1. Karun Nair and Jaiswal had a 80-run stand. The Mumbai youngster put pressure on the English bowlers, bringing up his 11th Test half-century. Shortly before lunch, India lost Nair, but Yashasvi's 62 not out took the team to a solid position of 98 for 2 at lunch. The 23-year-old was stopped 13 short of his 6th Test 100. The left-hander slashed wildly but ended up slicing an edge to Jamie Smith. Stokes had his man.
This is what Ben Stokes does.
Rishabh Pant packed a punch, delivering the first 6 of the innings shortly before tea, but England by that time had pulled back India's scoring rate. The men in blue were 182 for 3 at tea, Gill and Pant at the crease. Unlike Leeds, it wasn't to be a Pant show. India lost Pant and Reddy in quick succession. Shubman Gill once again stood tall and under the Birmingham sun, while wickets fell on the other end. He milked the English bowling en route to his second 100 of the tour. This was his second ton as the Test captain of India and 7th overall, coming in 119 balls.
Patient Test match innings.
The partnership of Gill and Jadeja frustrated the hosts. At stumps, they had a 99-run unbeaten stand, Gill on 114 and Jadeja 41, both unbeaten. Honours were shared on day 1.
Meanwhile, Indian actor Deepika Padukone has finally received her Hollywood Walk of Fame star and has in fact become the first Indian actor to achieve this remarkable feat. Here's a special report.
There is no stopping this woman. Deepika Padukone is now the first Indian artist to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The famous sidewalk in Hollywood Boulevard, which is decorated by hundreds of terrazzo and brass stars, honoring outstanding achievers in the entertainment industry. Deepika Padukone now joins the ranks of Paula Abdul, Amy Adams, Lisa Kudrow, Muhammad Ali, James Cameron, Lily Tomlin to RuPaul, and cements her contribution to the film industry. Of course, we are thrilled for her, but technically she's not the first Indian actor. Sabu Dastagir, Mysore-born, son of an elephant Mahout, was the first actor of Indian nationality to be inducted in the Walk of Fame. He starred in movies like Elephant Boy, Arabian Nights, The Thief of Baghdad, and many more. As a teenager, he became one of the most recognizable Indian actors in Hollywood, especially popular for his roles in fantasy and adventure films. Although he became an American citizen in 1944 and in 1960 during Hollywood's golden era, Sabu was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Thus, Deepika is being recognized as the first Indian actor to receive this accolade. Nonetheless, it's a big achievement for her. With already brand ambassador for multiple luxury names like Cartier and Louis Vuitton, Deepika Padukone without a doubt is a global star. With Priyanka Chopra also dominating the Hollywood landscape, let's just say Indian actresses are causing a global phenomena.
And that's not all the good news from the Indian entertainment industry. Arijit Singh, with 150 million Spotify followers, has beat Taylor Swift and BTS to become the most followed celebrity on the platform. Now, Spotify has also crowned the legendary Indian musician as the most followed artist in the world. So that's all we have for you this Friday. Take care and have a wonderful weekend.
How long's it been then? We met about 8 years back. What? Yeah, serious relationship.
He has this way of looking into my eyes.
Knows how to treat me. Gentle, considerate.
Did I tell you he owns his own business?
I think he's going to pop the question.
Better or worse?
Better.
Our opticians and audiologists own their stores, so your care is their business, which can make them rather popular.
Apparently, he's seeing half the town.
Book an appointment today.
U.S. has halted some weapons shipments to Kiev as Russia's war against Ukraine has intensified. The decision was taken to put America's interests first, following a Department of Defense review of American military support and assistance to other countries. U.S. has sent tens of billions of dollars in military aid to Ukraine since Russia launched its full-scale invasion in February 2022, leading some in the Trump administration to voice concerns that U.S. stockpiles are now too low. The Ukrainian government has not commented on the announcement, and U.S. officials did not say which are those shipments that are being halted. Now, this means that America is preparing for its own military arsenal rather than providing anything more to Ukraine, probably setting the stage for some sort of a peace talk to be accepted by both sides. As we wrap things up, tell you one thing, which is about Anil Menon. That's an important story as India has been celebrating its space mission. And as we celebrate Shubhanshu Shukla, let's also now celebrate Anil Menon. NASA astronaut has been assigned his first mission to the International Space Station, serving as a flight engineer and expedition of a crew member. Menon will launch aboard the Roscosmos Soyuz MS-29 spacecraft in June 2026. During his expedition, Menon will conduct scientific investigations and tech demonstrations to help prepare humans for future space missions and benefit humanity. As I said, we celebrate Shubhanshu Shukla. It's time to also celebrate Anil Menon.
Thanks for staying with NDTV. You're watching the Friday edition of the World Report with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. President Donald Trump has said his administration would start sending letters to countries probably on Friday to identify the tariff rates they would face on imports to the United States. In fact, Trump says 10 to 12 countries will get letters by Friday and will range in value from 60 to 70% and 10 to 20%. Meanwhile, countries will start paying tariffs from the 1st of August. Listen in.
We have a couple of other deals, but my inclination is to send a letter out and saying what tariff they're going to be paying. It's just much easier. We have, far more than 170 countries. And how many deals can you make? And you can make good deals, but they're very much more complicated. I'd rather, and I've been like this from the beginning, I'd rather send out a letter saying this is what you're going to pay to do business in the United States.
Staying with the U.S., where the House of Representatives passed Republican sweeping tax and spending legislation, sending the so-called Big Beautiful Bill to President Donald Trump's desk. Now, the measure's passage following an all-night legislative session during which